So thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I just wanted to kind of frame and remind us how we got here, because it's been some time. And it's interesting as we've spent quite a bit of time this morning talking about quality of life for our constituents and across the county. And for many of our shared constituency who live in our unincorporated communities, this is a quality of life issue. I have transcripts from email and phone calls from constituents who, it makes me sad when I hear from constituents who live in unincorporated areas, and maybe you all have had this experience, who really feel that they are unseen and unheard. That there is this notion that because they are not in a city, that they're missing this layer of government, and that their quality of life is compromised because they're in the unincorporated communities and we don't see and hear them. And this issue came to my attention from the first moment I assumed this office. Continues to be something we hear about consistently. And again, it's a quality of life issue, just as many of the issues we've talked about earlier today. So I wanted to frame that. You all will recall in October when I brought the motion forward, we brought pictures. And we've heard about double parked cars. And, the issue the way people frame it to me always is they will pit themselves against a community they perceive as not only a community that has city representation, but a community that is of a higher socioeconomic income. So I will hear from constituents who will say, this would never happen if this were Beverly Hills. And again, I think that is tragic. And our goal is to collectively make sure that every neighborhood in LA County is one that is livable and desirable. And so last October, I brought the motion forward to transfer parking services because, again, it's been an ongoing issue for constituents of the 2nd District and many others for really a long time. Since January, shortly after I took office, we've received over 400 calls from constituents regarding dissatisfaction with their experience with parking enforcement services. We talk about the cleanliness of our streets. They talk about they can't get street sweeping services because cars aren't moving because of lack of violations issued. We know that we waived those services during COVID, but now those services are happening in parts of the county, and every community deserves to have their streets clean, and cars that are parked there beyond 72 hours to be cited or moved. Parking enforcement under the sheriff's management currently issues less than 200,000 tickets annually. That's over 56,000 less tickets issued than the city of Long Beach, with over twice the population and 5 times the coverage area of our unincorporated communities. The city of West Hollywood issues 140,000 tickets annually, while the county's unincorporated area takes up 1,300 times more coverage and 28 times the population of West Hollywood. When illegally parked cars are not cited consistently and in a timely manner, it impacts a host of other municipal services. It prevents street cleanings. It makes it difficult for customers to access small business in their neighborhood and makes our streets unsafe by blocking the right-of-way. I showed you pictures in October. Some of these constituents talk about not being able to access their own driveway, to get into or out of their own driveway. That when they're double parked, there's always fears that emergency vehicles won't be able to get to them because you can't access streets. The streets are narrowed because of the cars parked illegally. So again, the transfer will allow parking services to be placed in what we believe is the most appropriate department, as other jurisdictions across the county have done, with the entity that actually oversees streets and sidewalks. I think in the CEO's report today that there are municipalities that it's clear that it's not in law enforcement, it's in the departments that control streets and sidewalks. When we reached out to CSAC to look at counties across the state, there were any number of examples where these services were being handled in an entity that was not law enforcement. It allows for greater efficiency and effectiveness in delivering critical projects like bus and bike lanes, Vision Zero, which is really important to the 2nd District, and so much more. So the issue before us today is not whether parking services should be transferred, but the implementation plan for this to occur. We, as a board, are both employers and service providers, and I believe we have to create a sense of balance for that. By transferring the parking control employees and work to DPW, they will all keep their jobs. Parking control, 81 parking control positions will be maintained, and 9 administrative positions to preserve institutional memory. And they're requesting 19 new positions in the first phase, which is really important because clearly, I think we need more people, more boots on the ground to be able to provide this service equitably across the county. There are some municipalities who actually have municipal employees. There are some who contract it out. That's not what we're going to do. These will continue to be county employees who will move from one department to another. We have experience here as a board standing up new departments, splitting departments, and we've always managed moving the personnel from the department to the next. Again, because we are attempting to provide a more effective, efficient service delivery infrastructure to constituents, particularly those who live in unincorporated communities. So I thank you for the opportunity to have the report back today so we can talk about the document drafted by the CEO's office and to pose some questions to the impacted departments here today.